Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to Yahawah, by Sham, Yahawah by Shem Kadash. And I also want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And salutations to all the Akim out there on the streets and on the internet, pushing the truth and sincerity and with all charity. Shalom, Akim, and salute. All right, tonight I found a rather interesting article, online. I was reading another book, and the Lord put the spirit on me to just do a Google search on just female slave owners. Just were there ever any female slave owners? And man, oh man, with that, I'm gonna go into this article that I found on the history.com. If brothers is familiar or brothers watch TV like that, this is the website for the History Channel. This article was obviously it's from March 12th of 2019. It's this year. And the name of the article is called "The Massive Overlooked Role of Female Slave Owners." It says it's estimated that 40% of slave owners may have been white women. 40%. Let's carry on. I'm going to read this whole article. Now, just bear with me, but it is very informative, and we'll get right into it, okay? It says, most Americans know that George Washington owned enslaved people at his Mount Vernon home, but fewer probably know that it was his wife, Martha, who dramatically increased the enslaved population. When they wed in 1759, George may have owned around 18 people. Martha, one of the richest women in Virginia, owned 84. And you know what? Just off that alone, it reminds me of this scene of this movie, Drum. When the guy was buying Drum, he was going back and forth at an auction with a white woman, man. Okay? And, I didn't think anything of it. But, comes to find out, that's not a strange thing. That wasn't odd in America for women to be bidding with the men for slaves. Okay, and as the article said, white women owned about 40% of the slaves. Okay, and we'll carry on. It says the high number of people Martha Washington owned is unusual, but the fact that she owned them is not. Stephanie E. Jones Roger, a history professor at the University of California, Berkeley, is compiling data on just how many white women owned slaves in the U.S. And in the parts of the 1850 and 1860 census data she studied so far, white women make up about 40% of all slave owners. Slave-holding parents typically gave their daughters more enslaved people than land, says Jones Rogers, whose book, They Were Her Property, White Women as Slave Owners in the American South, came out in February of the year 2019. It says what this means is that their very identities are, as white Southern women, are tied to the actual or the possible ownership of other people. Shalakia. I'll carry on. It says white women were active and violent participants in the slave market. They bought, sold, managed, and sought the return of enslaved people in whom they had vested economic interests. Owning a large number of enslaved people made a woman a better marriage prospect. Once married, white women fought in courts to preserve their legal ownership over enslaved people, as opposed to their husband's ownership, and often won. And it's no different from what's going on, today with you Edomites and your court systems and your in the way you do things with marriages. Okay, yeah, you split down the middle and all of that when the Bible prescribes no such thing. A woman, a wife is a possession. As the scriptures say, he that getteth a wife get a possession. Herself, she is property. Okay, but here we go. I'll read that paragraph again. It says, once married, white women fought in courts to preserve their legal ownership over enslaved people, as opposed to their husband's ownership, and often won. Okay, and that's an abomination. I'll carry on. For them, slavery was their freedom. You hear that? It says for them, slavery was their freedom, man. Having us in slavery were these white women freedom, man. Okay. Jones Rogers observes in her book they were her property, a pens or U pens, a lot of older scholarship. For example, previous scholars have argued that most Southern white women didn't buy, sell, or inflict violence on enslaved people because this was considered improper for them. But Jones Rogers argues that white women were actually trained to participate from a very young age. Okay, and it's no different from when you see little kids that are that's why, hey, and that makes sense. And that's why you see little kids at lynches, when they used to lynch Jake back in the day and call it a picnic. You'll see little kids there, women there. They be training their kids from a very young age, as this says, to see that type of violence get put on slaves, man. Okay? And they did they little girls that way. Okay? I'll carry on. Okay, hey, just take a look at this piece of artwork here. Okay, it's showing as it says a slave auction, and you got men and women bidding on slaves, man. Okay, I'll carry on. It says their exposure to the slave market is not something that begins in adulthood. It begins in their homes when they're little girls, sometimes infants, when they're given enslaved people as gifts. Okay, and that reminds me of another movie, Goodbye Uncle Tom. Okay, I want to say it's the first time I ever seen just something as crazy as a little white girl having a little, Jake boy, okay, on a leash, naked, on a chain, just walking him around, you know. And it says that they were given to him as gifts. Okay, but that's how you Edomites roll, man. That's how you white people roll. Okay. I'm gonna carry on, man, because the Lord's just lifting the skirt on you people, man. He's exposing everything. I'll carry on. It says, citing interviews with formerly enslaved people that the Works Progress Administration, a New Deal agency conducted in the 1930s, Jones Rogers shows that part of white children's training in plantation management involved beating enslaved people. So they participating in beating slaves, okay? Little kids. All right, carry on, man. I'll definitely, I'm talking like I'm at camp, man. Carry on, man. I'm going to carry on. It didn't matter whether the child was large or small. One woman told the WPA, they always beat you till the blood ran down. As adults, white women often tore black women away from their babies so they could nurse the white mistress baby instead. To this end, white women placed thousands of advertisements in newspapers looking for enslaved wet nurses to feed their own children and created a huge market for enslaved black women who had recently given birth. Why did these white women want black women to nurse their children? One complained she felt like continuously having children and continuously nursing her children made her a slave to her children. That's an actual quote, Jones Rogers says. Okay. And that just goes on that's a further testament that, yo, man, you Edomites are the devil. Who would feel that way about their own kids, man? I see how y'all can be walking around in society with your kids on leashes and stuff of that nature, man. And stuff of that nature. I'll carry on. It says some black women reported in WPA interviews that their mothers would always give birth around the same time as the white mistress, suggesting that these mistresses were also orchestrating the sexual assault of enslaved women. There were instances in which formerly enslaved people did in fact say that their mistresses either sanctioned acts of sexual violence against them that they were perpetrated at the hands of white men, or that they orchestrated instances of sexual violence between two enslaved people that they own in hopes of producing children from those acts of sexual violence. Jones Rogers says. It says white women also fought to maintain the wealth and free labor that slavery provided them through the Civil War. And as Union troops made their way through the South freeing enslaved people, white women would move enslaved people farther from the soldiers' path. One woman, Martha Gibbs, even took enslaved people to Texas and forced them to work for her at gunpoint until 1866, a year after slavery's formal abolition. And meanwhile, you so-called black women, okay, you have your head up, you have your proverbial head up the white woman's ass, man. Okay, because you get all this foolishness from them. Okay, then hey, let's start with number one, your hair. Okay, want to wear your hair like them. Okay, want to dress like them, want to wear clothes like them, want to talk like them, want to have that stupid stuck up attitude like them. Okay, you envy your oppressor, obviously, because you look, dress, smell, think, talk like them, act like them, you eat your foods like them, everything. Okay, it's all over you. It's coming all off you. Okay, but that's who you want, and that's how they treated you, and that's who you look up to, man. I'll carry on. After the Civil War, Southern white women sought to recreate slavery through exploitative work contracts. Some also wrote books portraying the institution of slavery as gentle and benign, the most famous being Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell, a woman born 35 years after abolition. Yet, as Joan Rogers argues in her book, it was not only white women's ideological and sentimental connections to slavery that made them defend it. Scarlett O'Hara would have been protecting her economic interests as well. That's right, man. So it ain't got. It's always the money with you white people, man. Okay, but you gonna learn, that there's some people in this world that was made. They for the Lord, man, and they can't be bought. They can't be bribed. They can't be bargained with. They stand up for the Lord and every word he ever wrote in that book. And that's a big reason why this article is being brought out on the scale that is being brought out upon, okay? And with that, all I got to say is, man, look, Shalakia, all I got to say is, man, look, yo, I'll just let the scripture speak. This is Revelation chapter 13, verse 9, the infamous. Okay, if any man have an ear, let him hear. If you got ears, understand what I'm finna say to you. Okay, understand what the book is saying. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Okay, every Edomite man, woman, and child, and all you other heathens of the other nations, all of you are going into slavery. For every little nefarious part that you played in the enslavement of the children of Israel, okay, the Lord's chosen people according to the Bible, okay, you're going into slavery. The ones of you that are still in America, which is known as Babylon, when World War III pops off, be advised that you're not going to make it out of here. You're going to die in this place. America's allies are going to nuke this place to the ground. And everybody that ain't of the elect and of the 1/3 that are spoken of in the book of Revelation are going to die in the lake of fire. You're in it. America is the lake of fire. It's just not on fire yet. Okay? I'll carry on. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword, man. Okay? Here is the patience and the faith of the saints, man. Okay? All those infamous saints that you know of in the Bible, okay? All the disciples of the Lord, all of his apostles. This is what they've been patiently waiting for. This is what they have faith in. That all of you will go into slavery that put us into slavery. And all of you will be killed with the sword that killed us with the sword, man. When the Lord comes back, he is going to do it. He's going to enslave you all. the edge of the sword. Okay? And that's what the Bible say. If you don't like what the Bible say, put it down, because it ain't for you anyway. It got your judgment in it, but it ain't for you. You know? And with that, I'll stop right there. I want to give all praises to Yahawah by Hashem Yahawah Shai by Hashem Klakadash. And hey, Lord willing, you was edified. Shalom.